Matt, I guess. Just put in my uncommitted vote. At this point, it's hard not to feel like Biden is more ideologically committed to this war than beating Trump. Mentally, I'm preparing for a Trump win in November. It feels like the left should start thinking about how we're going to organize against Trump. Any thoughts on who we should be organizing around? Well, I would say look to your left and look to your right.
Yeah, who's
more than
yeah. You got DSA, if you got whoever.
This is the thing I think they just really is really problematic about Biden. And again, like, look, I think at one point there's, the Biden campaign and the administration is going to have to take responsibility. Maybe they'll win. Maybe they're right. But they're increasingly, it feels like they are out of touch. Look at this. I happen to believe that, yes, if Donald Trump becomes president, it's going to be very, very problematic for, American democracy as to whatever that means. I think like the rate in which we will become less democratic, small d, will increase. The functioning of our government in protecting citizens in areas of labor, antitrust, EPA, FDA, et cetera, it's going to be bad.
Like it was
really
the first
bad.
time.
Like it was the first time, but worse.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's going to be dramatically worse than it was the first time because, you don't need to put Reince Priebus in there to reel him in. There's no Paul Ryan. Remember, that was the first 2 years of Trump's administration was
trifecta then, too.
Trump thinking that he was going to have to play the game and this and that. And this time around, he just knows, I don't have to do any of that.
I want to hit the ground running. He was asked by Sean Hannity, the Democrats say you want to be a dictator. Can you put that notion to rest? He goes, just on day one, right? That's the lesson he's learning. He's going to go in there and try to surround himself with sycophants and with people that are going to do away with any kind of semblance of checks and balances for him.
And you look at look at where the Heritage Foundation is now. So I really do think this is a problem on top of all these other issues. And it is hard though to, and so when you hear, the Democratic apparatus and the campaign and the extensions of it saying this is the fundamental core argument and issue. Well, if that's the case, then why would you risk it to be so supportive of something so horrific? Where is the U.S. interest? Your constituents' interest? Where is the interest involved in this going to put aside the moral reasons why you shouldn't be doing this from a political standpoint? And there really is a sense that they are just so in a bubble. Put up this tear sheet from this New Yorker piece.
It's an interview done by Evan Osnos of Biden and other folks
not necessarily
in the
an interview. It's like a it's a big profile.
Oh, profile
of what's going on there. But he interviewed a lot of people. There has been this sort of notion of maybe he's in a bubble, and again, remember, this is on reporting that they're hiding the president from protests, et cetera, et cetera. Unsurprisingly, Biden's aides reject the idea that the White House is insular or dismissive of reality. Zients, that is Jeff Zients, the chief of staff. I have to say that, I know somebody who's in business who has dealt with him. They're not impressed.
It was a massive drop-off, by the way, from Ron Klain.
Aside from the ideology,
yes.
But here's the big difference. Klain comes from politics.
Yep.
Zients does not. That's a problem. Who succeeded Ron Klain as chief of staff last year. And here's you'll see the problem. Pointed to Biden's reputation, this is Zients, for soliciting opinions from critics. Are you ready for this? Zaints is now bragging. The president listens to critics.
So he listens to this show.
Quote, just the other day,
Nope.
he picked up the phone and called Larry Summers.
Shoot me in the
Now,
face.
look, Larry Summers has
one
been
poll.
a critic of the administration because they didn't hire him. Okay. Zaints said, as outreach goes, it was relatively safe. Summers, despite his critical comments, is a longtime advisor to presidents. Biden's other occasional calls, you ready for this, range from the columnist Thomas Friedman to the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. That's how you pressure test decisions, Zaints says. Now, the problem with somebody not coming from politics, I mean, put aside the fact that Zaints' politics, the extent that he has an ideology, and my guess would be like, I don't have an ideology. I am completely just for the common sense stuff, like tax cuts for rich people and whatever it is. But the problem with someone who not coming from politics is they have no idea of what 360 degrees means or 180 degrees means. They have no idea what the pressures are so that you can actually, quote, pressure test the decision.
Yeah. That's all the constituencies spoken for there between Larry Summers, Thomas Friedman, and Mitch McConnell.
Exactly.
All three white guys. I mean,
not just all three white guys.
think
You
all
could
three
have said-
conservatives. Yes.
Not just conservatives. You could have said Matt Iglesias and made that whole thing a little bit more diverse. But you have three old white guys
Conservatives.
who are conservatives.
Who think that Biden's being too far left on things.
Does he ever? I mean, Zients doesn't even think to say like, oh, perhaps a left-wing critic of Joe Biden. Perhaps
Could
a
you
left-wing
find
critic
one?
of Joe Biden.
But it's just like this is like me going in and being installed in as a CEO of a logistics company and going like, I have really covered all my bases. I've definitely spoken to, one person who drives a truck in one area. Like, it's not like, I mean, putting aside how horrific that sort of like narrow, tiny slice of our politics is. If he was only talking to, I don't know, anarcho-communists as a way of pressure testing something, that would also be a problem in the country.
This is like me reassuring everyone, like, yeah, I get all sides. I talk to Bhaskar Sankara, Chris Hayes, and Jamie Peck. And
but that's even wider of that's a
wider,
significantly wider range than these three. I mean, that's the amazing thing about it. It's like it's an abject failure. You literally have just covered 4 degrees of the American political spectrum, which is a fairly narrow spectrum to begin with. And you've just covered like just the tiniest slice of it. It is unbelievable. Then what's even more shocking is that if this was the reporting on that, but this is the guy trying to sell.
Yes.
It's just
Well,
amazing.
why is Biden pivoting to the border or the right on border or running to the right on the border? Why can't anybody who supports Palestinian rights break through, seemingly, except a little bit now? Can we just go also to that other quote from this piece about abortion?
This is also what, I mean, this is like
strength to strength.
It really makes you wonder, is there any political people around Joe Biden at this point?
I think Ron Klain's departure really, really was a bad sign, honestly.
A bad sign, or just simply it brought about bad results.
Yeah.
Biden's talking about or I should say the writers writing about abortion. For decades, the politics of abortion were notoriously awkward for Biden.
By the way, this is the Democrats' #1 electoral advantage in the fall, just to give people a sense of how ill-equipped Biden is for this moment. O'Malley Dillon, I'm not sure who that is.
Jen O'Malley Dillon, his former campaign manager.
Yes, okay. Said it's always been a hard issue for him, but it became a very easy issue for him because of the Supreme Court. That's what an aide said. O'Malley Dillon recalled that when the decision came in, the case called Dobbs v. Jackson, Biden's immediate response was, how is it that we are rolling back 50 years of rights?
I don't know. It's exactly what the Republicans have wanted and pushed for decades.
He
Could have asked Mitch McConnell about that in one of their calls.
I asked Biden what he would do in a second term to protect abortion access at a federal level, and he said, pass Roe v. Wade as law of the land, he said. Okay, all well and good, exactly what you want him to say.
Until
Democrats would need to win control of the House and representative and gain seats in the Senate. But Biden expressed confidence. A few more elections, like we've seen taking place in the states, would suffice. He said, you're seeing the country changing. And then, reiterating his position on Roe, he said, I've never been supportive of, it's my body, I can do what I want with it. But I have been supportive of the notion that this is probably the most rational allocation of responsibility that all the major religions have signed on and debated over the last 1,000 years.
religions. Religions.
It's a framing that irritates advocates. I mean, look.
Yeah.
I'm a little irritated.
I mean, the point is, like, look, at the end of the day, all I care about is what he's going to do. I don't care what's in his heart. But he's running for re-election. He has one, like, bedrock issue in which is generating the most, call it enthusiasm, the most likely to energize your voters. For a moment, put your intense arrogance to the side and speak in a way that will not make it seem like you're waffling. I get from an action standpoint, but look, this type of quote will get disseminated, and it will be used against him and will be used to dilute the strength of this as an issue. Like, you cannot say that we're running on the notion that this is an all hands on deck moment.
Yeah.
And then be like, except for these couple of things that I'm doing.
I'm not about it's my body, it's my choice, because all of the major religions have decided on something that I agree with. How can somebody who has been in politics and been in the Senate for decades view the right of an abortion through a religious lens? It is astounding to have a Democratic president speaking about a woman's bodily autonomy within the context of what religious leaders think about it. I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap.
I mean, the bottom line is, like, he can think whatever he wants, but how can you talk like this 6 months out from an election?
I have to flag the party people too, because my big concern is how the Democratic Party is actually reacting to this issue. And when I see someone saying, actually, this became a really easy issue for him after Roe v. Wade, I wonder how urgently they are actually to move to get it off the books at all as an issue, or if they just like it propping up a guy who shouldn't be. Like, no. I mean, imagine without this issue where he'd be at.
Well, no. He's saying that it was easy for him when it was resolved by the courts.
But now it's easier for him. So it's like they.
No. I think it's the opposite.
Oh.
I think it's the opposite.
Oh, I thought they said like it made it easy because like even he looks like he's a pro-choice person now.
Oh, no.
Oh.
It made it easier when the court said this is the rights, and then he no longer had to opine on it.
Oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
I mean, he is just so unfortunately ideological in ways that, like, again, this doesn't really impact.
He's just living in a different era.
I know, but he's living in the 70s with Israel. He's living in the 70s with abortion, and he's also imbuing his own, like, personal Catholicism into it. I don't care. His own personal Zionism into it. I don't care. Like, he is oddly, for somebody who we've described in other contexts as a cipher, just so stubborn and ideological about things that are honestly at the things he's ideological and stubborn about are the two things that are right now
about fighting fascism.
The most important issues in the election right now. He is so uniquely ill-suited to meet this moment. And I mean, I'm starting to get really concerned. I'm really concerned because generic Democrat Kamala Harris, even, I genuinely think most Democrats right now would be in a much better position. He's been digging himself in a hole. And I want the Democrats to win in the fall. I'm terrified.
Yep.
I haven't even begun to process what another Trump presidency would look like because we're so wrapped up in what's happening in Gaza right now.
It's going to be
But, like,
fascists on the march and then liberals blaming the people who are upset about a fucking genocide.
Yeah.
For blowing
Well,
the
that's
corner.
already happened. Like Aaron Rupar all over the place. The leftists are going to hand this to Trump. Do something about it, buddy.
Here's the thing.
Biden.
Morpheus says Biden's consistent on this. He said the exact same shit debating Paul Ryan back in 2012 election. I have no doubt, but that's exactly the problem. Because in 2012 we had a we had a right to abortion in this country, and in 2024 we do not. And so my point is exactly that.
Yeah.
He is his politics are obsolete. And the idea that he has surrounded himself, that his chief of staff is not a political person who does not come from politics.
Yep.
I think is like really, it is showing what the problem with that is. Because someone who knew politics, even if they had bad politics, would be aware of what is going on around him. And those voices that he would allow pass through the gauntlet, because that's what the chief of staff does, is basically say, whose voices you're going to be hearing from. They would be different. It is a problem. It's a real problem.
It feels like when Britain was going to war, like World War I, with like wooden ships and stuff like that, and they just all got just decimated immediately. That's what it feels like going in this election cycle.
Yeah.